So, do you like the setup? I made a throne of short boxes.
It's got style, man. It works out perfectly.
Here, Jeff, here, we'll start. Okay.
Yeah.
Howdy. Live here with up-and-coming artist Jeff Monk. From the looks of it, Jeff has the potential to become a superstar artist. He's been featured on Todd McFarlane's Instagram. Um, Features himself on his Instagram at, what's your Instagram, Jeff?
It's monk underscore illustration.
Monk underscore illustration. He has his beautiful art on there. Jeff, please introduce yourself. Explain how you got into comics.
Yeah, my name
My
is
name's
Jeff.
Jeff.
Covered that. Comics has been a long time for me. When I was really young, I used to read G.I. Joe. Loved it. Mostly loved making the machine gun sounds. That was pretty much my favorite part.
The Larry Hama run?
What was that?
The Larry Hama run?
Yeah, yeah. All the originals, loved them. I had all the toys because I was like a little guy at the time. So I loved it, and then I didn't pay attention to comics for a while, and then randomly I picked up an issue of X-Men. It was a X-Men 242, the big Inferno event,
Hmm.
and it literally blew my mind.
Who's
I
on there?
was
Silvestri?
Yeah, it was Silvestri and Chris Claremont at their best, and I remember reading that book and just being floored by the artwork. And it was the first comic book I ever read where the whole thing played out in my head like a movie. Like the his because Silvestri is an absolute genius. And his layouts and his poses and everything that he did was just so unbelievably perfect that it just blew my brain up. And to this day I'm still trying to buy. There's a guy in France somewhere who has the page where Colossus looks up. Whoops.
Up.
Technical issue.
A little technical issue. Okay, keep on going. You're talking about the guy from
Yeah,
France?
yeah. It's a picture of Colossus looking up at the Empire State Building, where Madeline Pryor and Havoc have gone in there because she's bewitched him or whatever, and he's just looking up at it, and he says like, while I still have breath in me, I'm going to try and rescue you, and it was just so unbelievably heroic and dramatic and just so perfectly done. And there's a guy in France who has that original page, and I've been trying to buy it off him for years, and now he won't even answer my emails. But that's the book that got me hooked. And in my basement, in a frame, I
Hmm.
have quite possibly the world's shittiest copy of X-Men 242 that's been beaten to death. And it's signed by Chris Claremont and it's signed by Mark Silvestri, and I love it. Like, it makes me so happy every time I see it.
I've met both of the guys. Very, very nice gentlemen.
Yeah,
Silvestri is one of my favorite of the Image Seven. I
yeah.
can see a lot of your art. Would you say a lot of it's inspired by Silvestri? I say
Oh
it's
God, I rip him off mercilessly. Like, if you're gonna copy somebody,
mm,
like do the best. And like, I've been looking at his new the Batman book that he's working on, and I'm like, I just don't get it. Like, I don't understand how he gets his brain to that spot to be able to
yeah.
do what he does. It's just phenomenal. And I can tell you, and I apologize, I gotta swear, but it was funny. I met Mark Silvestri, like, I don't even know, like 20 years ago at a convention in Niagara Falls,
Mm.
and he was just walking through the hallway, and I saw him, and I said, "Excuse me, Mark," and he's like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "So, not only are you a much better looking guy than me, and you got your beautiful wife, and you're an incredible artist, far better than I'll ever be, but you're also taller than me. Fuck you, Mark Silvestri." And he started laughing, and he just signed everything that I had, and I loved all of it. So, because like, I'm almost 6'3", and
Mm.
Mark's like 7 foot 46, and he's just huge. So yeah, that's how I met Mark Silvestri.
You're a little closer to him than me. I'm closer to Jack Kirby's height. I think I'm about Jack Kirby's height from when he died. 5'3", 5'3".
It's a solid height, man.
So
Wolverine's 5'3", and that guy does
yeah,
crazy stuff.
the height of kings.
There you go.
Um, yeah, I see a little more influence from Silvestri than your influence from McFarlane, but you're a big McFarlane guy though. You aspire
Yeah,
to be on a Spawn book, correct?
that's the ultimate goal. The thing I love about I remember like when I first saw Todd's work, he was still on Amazing Spider-Man, and it was just starting to lead into his Spider-Man #1 release. And I remember looking at it at first, and I'm like, "Wow, this is pretty crazy stuff." Like, there's a lot of detail, but it didn't really resonate with me at first, because it was a little bit more animated in his
Mm,
style, like with his faces and stuff like that. And I recognized that it was really really good, but it didn't have that dark edge that I really liked. But the more I read it and the more I looked at what he was doing, the thing that Todd had that nobody else really had was a level of dynamics and a level of just fun. Like, it was fun to look at his stuff, and the way he like. And I remember, like, I can't remember what issue it is, but I remember that, Peter Parker is in his apartment with Mary Jane, and there's always this line where he's like, "I'm pretty awesome when I want," and he's got this smug look on his face, and then Mary Jane attacks him, tickling.
mm,
It was just an awesome panel. Like, it was just
mm.
fantastic to read, and I really enjoyed it. And then I started getting into him more and more, and then I was a huge fan of everything that he did from then on. And I remember being at the comic store when Spider-Man #1 came out and just buying stacks of these because I'm like, I'm going to be a millionaire with these. I'm not. And I remember seeing the platinum edition on the wall, and I was like, oh, it's the holy grail. Like, wow, I'm never going to own one of those. I do have one now, though, so that's cool.
Are you cut
Uh,
up to his 300 issues of Spawn?
I'm not a collect every issue kind of guy.
Mm,
I'm not about the runs. I'm very weird in my collecting. I don't actually care if a book is worth a lot of money. And for example, like, I have dozens of copies of Spawn that are graded 9.8, and I wanted them because Capullo was drawing them,
yep.
and now I consider Capullo not only probably one of the nicest guys in comics, and definitely somebody that I hugely admire, um, but I think he's probably the best artist in comics right now. I think, and it's purely my opinion, but I think when Greg is going at 100%, nobody can touch him. And it's not his monsters, it's not his dynamics and all this, but like his pages in We Have Demon, where it was set in a living room, those pages demolished my brain because it was a living room, no question. It looked real, it looked relatable. And to draw that takes skill. Like, anybody can draw all the monsters and boobs and chains and all this kind of stuff. But to draw like a relatable, believable everyday scene, that's really hard. And he crushes it with, it seems effortless. So I love the guy.
Yep.
Um,
Um, my introduction to him was of course the New 52. That's
yeah,
when that's I was about 12 when that came out.
yeah,
And so the New 52 is what really put me in the comics. Um, give or take what people will say about it, the good or the bad, but I think it brought a lot of people into comics.
yeah. I thought it was a great. I love. I've got all the collected editions of the New 52. I go back and read them because, like, his light and shadow work with
Mm.
Batman, and it's the guy's a master at what he does. He
And you
just
could
he
see how his art evolved throughout the run. It
yeah.
went from his Spawn stuff,
Hmm.
and then it went all to Dark Knight's Metal stuff,
Hmm.
that crazy out of pocket stuff.
Yeah, just nuts. The guy's incredible. So
One thing, like, I was interviewing Phil Jimenez at WonderCon earlier this month. One thing I was asking him was how did he get to his physique? Because it seems like comic artists are the buffest men in the world, and each one of them's training to be Mr. Universe.
yeah,
Um, Doug Mankey's up there. I know Greg Capullo's up there. Phil
yeah. Greg looks
Jimenez.
awesome. Have you seen Paulo Pantalina?
No,
the
I
guy
haven't.
is the guy is legitimately a superhero. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, he flexes and like people just fall over from the shockwaves. Like, the guy's nuts.
Are you a gym bro too? You're an artist? Are you a
I'm,
gym bro?
I'm a fat bastard. Are you kidding? It's
Oh,
it's
okay.
hideous.
From the
Um,
top up, it looks like you're a gym bro.
oh no,
But
that's the point. That is very much the point. This was very calculated. Yeah, it's designed. But no, this is the year. I've spoken to my wife about this, and I said, you know what? I'm tired of being a fat bastard.
mm,
I got a little son. He's 4 years old. I said I can't be dying chasing him down the street on his bike. So
mm.
this is the year. The goal is to drop 50 pounds and gain back some of the power and stamina that I had. So, um, you
And
know,
especially if you're a comic artist, me and Phil were talking about how this profession is very stagnant and very sit in a chair, don't
yeah,
move, don't move for hours.
yeah,
So yeah, please take care of yourself, exercise as much as you can. Please
yeah.
stay with us for as long as you can.
All about the mountain biking and just getting out there. That's the plan for this year. Is just ride till I puke, and then some more.
You're gonna be riding through beautiful Toronto. So um tell us a little about you getting into comics as a career. You were telling me a little about how you were in the corporate and
Yeah.
then you ventured off into
So it's a bit of a story.
mm,
I'm trying to rip through it. When I was young, I drew all the time. Loved drawing dinosaurs, as any young kid does. Then I got into comic books, so I started drawing comic books. Um, and then through a complete fluke, I got aligned with a comic store in Toronto that had a studio upstairs. There were a bunch of artists in there, and I thought, oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to learn off these guys. And it turned out to be super toxic, and it turned out to be an unfortunate turning point for me.
mm,
I had a lot of confidence issues and stuff like this, but I sort of masked it by being a little, um, I don't know if arrogant's the word, but like abrasive. Um,
mm.
and I
Just trying to
found
show
out
your
that,
tougher side.
well, I didn't know what I was doing. I just did, and I was young and dumb. So,
Mm,
and that's just the truth of it. But you find out things like, when you weren't at the studio, people were going through your sketchbook and making really negative comments and all this, and then, it really got me down.
mm,
And so I walked away and I got pretty depressed over it. And then I started just doing websites because my buddy was super talented and super smart, and he was getting me to do the graphics and all this. So I sort of fell into a career in art design and web design and graphics for 20 years, and I hated almost every second of it. So, and then unfortunately, about a year and a bit ago, my mom passed away, and it's one of those things. My mom was always one of the biggest cheerleaders for me, and she was always said everything that I did was great. But you look back and you realize that you've made a huge mistake. And so mom never said that she was disappointed that I didn't continue with comics, but like you kind of know.
yeah.
And so I said, well, I think I've got a little bit of talent, and I think this is what I'm supposed to do. So with mom's last gift, which was a bit of financial security, I decided to give up on the web design that was causing me so many problems. And I didn't really fit in a corporate environment either, because if something was bullshit, I would legitimately stand up and call it, which doesn't work well.
Mm,
And I said, you know what? I spoke to my wife about it, and I said, how do you feel about me, walking away from this and using the money that we've been given to try and support us while I try um, and switch this career? And she was for it, and that's been it ever since. It's been full tilt. Um, and I figured this is mom's last gift to me. I got to make it count. And so I've been doing my best, and I've had some fantastic support from the comic book community. Um, I am to this day floored that anybody likes anything that I draw. I I'm waiting for people to like pull the rug out and be like, just kidding. Um, but you know, it's been really great. So I'm determined to make this work. I don't know what level, but I'm gonna keep going.
You have
So
the talent. You have the talent to back it up. I've seen your work. It's beautiful. And it sounds like you have the drive. It sounds like you have motivation and you're gonna fulfill your dreams, Jeff.
it may sound, thank you, first of all. I appreciate that. But this may sound ridiculous for like, a midlife guy to say this, but like, I need to make my mom proud. I need her to know that with her last gift, like I really made it count. And not only that, like I said, I have a 4-year-old son, and he's the greatest thing that I've ever seen. Like he's phenomenal. And I need him to know that if you have a path in life, and you think this is the way that you have to go, don't let anybody knock you off of it. Like, stick to your
Mm,
guns, take that path. Because I screwed up majorly and I lost 20 to 25 years because of it in a career that potentially would have made me happy or would have made me crazy upset with the deadlines. I don't know. But either way, I think that's the way I was supposed to go and I didn't. So now
mm.
I'm trying to get back.